And
Are we
hopefully half an hour later,
working in
the
pregen?
worst part about today. Okay, so we're live. So let's go ahead and let's everybody pick pregens, and then we will start introducing ourselves and our characters. So does everybody have the link to the pregens? They're looking at them.
I've got a link to a page that says 13 age resources, and there are different.
Scroll down to where it says downloads.
Yeah.
And where it says pre-generated second level characters, and it lists a whole bunch of people that worked on them. Those are the pregens that we're working with.
Okay.
So I believe there's 9 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are 9 of them. Don't worry about party balance. You don't have to have any. You don't need a healer if you don't want a healer. You don't need a fighter or a tank or a wizard or anything like that. Just go ahead and pick whatever sort of character you would like to play.
All right. Well, I'll take the half-elf fighter.
Okay.
I'll jump in.
When you don't know a system.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'll grab the cleric if that's all right.
I guess I'll try a wizard. High elf wizard.
All right. The characters do range in complexity. The wizard is on the higher end. The fighter is kind of in the middle. Cleric is also kind of in the middle. So I know you're not familiar with the system, Bill. So just keep it. You still play a wizard. You won't have a problem with it. Just something to keep in mind if you wanted to play something simpler.
Well, what would be something simpler?
As for the simple ones, the simplest are like the barbarian, the ranger, and the paladin are the simplest. The cleric, the fighter, and the rogue are kind of middle. The sorcerer, the bard, and the wizard are the more complicated ones.
I'll go with wood elf ranger then.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so
My tag appearing in the lower third.
what's that?
Is my tag appearing in the lower third? Or do I have to click something else to get that?
I don't see it. And all right, and so as part of the demo, you're going to customize the pregens. You're not just going to give your characters names, which I mean you would expect to do with any pregen, but you're actually going to fill in part of the mechanical bits as well, mechanical and narrative for that matter. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fill in your one unique thing, and what this is your character is completely unique in some fashion for the game setting and the campaign. There may be other half-elf fighters or wood elf rangers or whatever, but there is something about your character, something your character is or has done or is associated with that is completely unique in the entire setting. You can go really gonzo with it. You can go something more mundane, but you get to choose basically something that makes your character stand out completely. One that last time I was doing demos, one of the examples was the character actually wasn't the character was actually the sword, and they were puppeteering around their human fighter to make themselves fit in and look normal. But the character themselves was actually the sentient sword, and that's the sort of one unique thing you might have. In a longer campaign, your one unique thing can get built in to the campaign and have a great effect on what's going on. But for purposes of this, it's just to help you kind of make the pre-gen something more interesting to yourself. So everybody go ahead and make up one unique thing. If you have any questions or comments or need any help with it, feel free to ask. I'm willing to help or give other suggestions or examples.
So we just need to think up the one unique thing at this point.
Yep, you're completely making it up. It's not from a list or anything like that. You have full reign to do whatever you'd like to for that. The only recommendations that I have are that it shouldn't be a one unity thing that's a mechanical effect. Like, for example, you probably wouldn't want to put that I'm the only elf with wings. In a longer campaign, that might be something workable, but being able to fly is a definitive mechanical effect that probably don't really want to go with on that. You also, for a one shot, it's okay, but on a longer campaign, you wouldn't want to be the only something. You wouldn't want to be the only wood elf or the only dwarf or something like that. It tends to limit the campaign and the setting and the other players a lot.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start then. I'm going to, this may be a little bit gonzo, but I'm going to say that my dwarf has the largest and bushiest beard of all dwarves, and people are either jealous of him or kind of admire him for it, and he gets a bit of hassle from jealous kind of haters and stuff for it.
Okay, no, that's great. Is it the biggest and bushiest beard right now, or is it the biggest and bushiest beard that has ever existed?
We'll say right now. Yeah, we'll say
Okay.
right now. In the known world, at least. Maybe there's a contender out there somewhere.
Okay. All right, that works.
Cool.
How about Bill and Steven? How are you coming along there?
Okay, I'll say my human mother is from the Cloud City of I need to come up with a name, and I carry a crystal shield, which is type of material that's only found in this Cloud City.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can I have another quick example or two of unique things?
Yeah. Let me pull out a few
Suggestions that might fit a ranger?
for a ranger specifically. Let's see. One unique thing. Okay. Here's one that was. Here's one from the rulebook. My eyes were unjustly put out by the Elven court, so the Elf Queen replaced them with magical opals. Another example is I see truths in shadows that cannot be seen in the real world. Here's I'm the only elf in the world with human ears. That's another one unique thing.
How about I'm excellent in the forest, but outside of the forest I tend to get lost? Or is that just too mundane?
Let's see. Let's see if we can find a way to punch it up and make it more unique. Maybe in the forest you are the best ranger to have ever lived, but you are so catastrophically bad in urban environments that you get lost between the door and your room, like of an inn. Something about the urban environment. Maybe you're cursed by city spirits or something like that. Maybe you've done something to offend them completely. All right, so everybody's got their one unique thing. And I mean, don't worry about it if your one unique thing feels more mundane or it feels too normal. It's the sort of thing where just because it sounds innocuous or mundane doesn't mean it can't be interesting in play. I don't know how much we'll be able to show that today, but I can certainly try. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at your icon relationships. And what icons are they are NPCs with tremendous power and influence in the campaign setting. For example, if you look at like Lord of the Rings, then Gandalf might be an icon, or Galadriel might be an icon. Sauron might be an icon. But every character in 13th Age has a connection to these icons. You can have a positive relationship, which means that you and the icon generally get along to a better degree. You have similar goals, similar experiences. You think things the same way. You also get along with their organizations and their agents and the other people who are generally devoted to that icon. You can have a negative relationship, which means they don't like you, you don't like them, and you're actively opposing to one another. And then you can have a conflicted relationship, which might mean that sometimes you get along, sometimes you don't, and I mean it might be that you have similar goals, but you don't have the same methods towards those goals, or you're doing the same sorts of things, but you have completely opposite goals in mind. And the benefits of a positive relationship are fairly straightforward. Is they're more likely to help you if you help them. A conflicted relationship, a lot of times you can get some help from that. Usually comes with a cost, or you won't get the same level of help sometimes. But on the other hand, a conflicted relationship means that you might get help from that icon's enemy, which leads us into a negative relationship. It doesn't sound like something you might want with an icon, but what it means is that when you're fighting that icon or you're working against that icon, you're known as an enemy of that icon, and so the enemy, so their enemies might help you with the idea that enemy of my enemy is my friend. And conflicted has some shades of that as well. So there are 13 icons. You have 3 points you can put into your icon relationships. You can put 3 into one icon, 1 into 3 different icons, or whatever it is. Let me read out the list of icons. So there's the Archmage, which is like the Gandalf sort of icon. The Archwizard, the Elminister, that sort of character. There's Crusader, who is basically like a paladin for the dark gods. He's fighting demons, and he's fighting the bad guys, but he's not himself is a good guy. He's definitely on the side of the evil, but at this point he's fighting a different sort of evil. The Diabolist happens to be the Crusader's target. She makes deals with demons to get them into the world, advance their aims, and that sort of thing. The Dwarf King. It's a fairly iconic thing. Every time you think that a dwarf lord in Lord of the Rings, that's basically that sort of elf queen. And similarly, the elf queen is another icon, and she's like the Galadriel sort of icon. The Emperor, the High King sort of icon. He rules the Dragon Empire. That is the default setting for 13th Age. He's interested in law and order and keeping peace. The Great Gold Worm is an enormous ancient golden dragon who is physically blocking the demons from escaping the abyss. He is primarily interested in keeping the demons under control, as well as sometimes fighting the other dragons that we'll get into. The High Druid is all about nature. At her best, it's nature coexisting with civilization. At her worst, it's nature needing to retake civilization. The Lich King, this is the Asherak, this is the Vecna sort of icon. Lord of the Undead. The Orc Lord, barbaric warlord, yet strangely charismatic in getting the orcs to his banners. The Priestess is a new icon for this time in the setting, and she's like not the avatar of, but she represents all the light gods, or at least the non-dark gods. The Prince of Shadows is the rogue, the thief, the master assassin. And then lastly, there's the 3, which if you think about Tiamat, the 3 are 3 chromatic dragons that used to be 5 chromatic dragons. They are the red, the blue, and the black. The red is just an engine of destruction. That's all he really lives for. The blue is a is actually part of the Empire. She's the master of one of the Empire's cities, with the blessing of the Emperor, however reluctant it might be. And the black is a secret dragon training assassins and monks to do her bidding. So those are all of the icons. And you guys have relationships with as few as one or as many as 3 of those.
I'll start then, if you like. I will go a sort of positive relationship with, for 1 point, with the priestess, just kind of reflecting my, kind of clerical training and stuff. And then I'll go like an ambiguous relationship of 2 points with the dwarf king, who kind of sees me as like a paragon dwarf because of my beard, but also kind of like thinks I might be a threat to his authority and doesn't really kind of want me around.
Okay.
Okay, I think I'll take a 1 point positive relationship with the elf queen, and 2 points with the great gold worm.
Okay. So you said +1 with the elf queen.
Right.
And what was the gold worm?
The great gold worm +2.
+2. Okay. Okay.
And I'll go with +1 for the elf queen.
Okay.
And +2 for the high druid.
Okay. Okay. So with that, the last thing that we need to get set up are your backgrounds. And what these are is, in lieu of other games might have a skill list, but 13th Age has backgrounds, and they represent groups of skills that you accumulate doing by existing. I mean, the things you do in your life give you certain sets of skills, and that's what backgrounds represent. The example that I always use is the city guard. If you have a city guard background, that means you have been a city guard, and you have skills related to that. That might be that you can interrogate somebody, that you can break down a door, that you can chase somebody over the rainy rooftops, you can spot clues, and that sort of thing. And so you have a lot of leeway with the backgrounds. I tend to find that the more specific and evocative, the better. But City Guard is a perfectly fine one. There can be other ones, like Acrobat is one that I've seen a few times. A Knight of a certain Paladin order might be another one. But you have a lot of freedom here to make up whatever your character has done in the past. You can put it down as a background. You have 8 points to spend. You can spend no more than 5 in any particular background. If you're feeling uncomfortable with it, go ahead and make 2 backgrounds, one with 5 and one with 3, or 2 at 4, and that'll cover. It'll probably cover most of what you got. So, if you'd like suggestions or examples, I can certainly provide those. Or if you have questions about it, I can answer that as well.
Yeah, so some examples would be good.
Okay. So let's see. So you're playing Stephen. You're playing a half-elf fighter, right? Let's look at what he's got for the fighter. Some example backgrounds for the fighter are mercenary captain, sea raider, bouncer, former gladiator, duelist, former legionnaire. Those are all good fighter backgrounds.
Right.
But if your character was a blacksmith, or you think your character was a blacksmith, you can go ahead and put that down as background. That's perfectly legitimate too. And and the nice thing with backgrounds is they encompass a wide variety of skills. So you might think that, like, for example, blacksmith might be very limited. You might be going, well, I'm not going to be making that many horseshoes. But what it can do is you can use it as a skill for when you need to evaluate whether metal is good or not. Like if you're crossing a metal bridge, you might need to see, well, is it rusted all the way through? Do you think it's going to hold the weight? It might involve commerce. Since if you are making horseshoes, that means you're dealing with people, you're selling stuff to them. But the only limitations on a background, really, what it can do, are really between you and the GM. If the GM feels that you've made an overly broad background, then he might ask you to rein it in a little bit. If a background is too specific, he might ask you to broaden it out a bit. So the blacksmith might not be... Blacksmith is probably broad enough, but if you were like a jewelsmith, that might be a little too specific, for example. That might be something that you're not going to see come up in play, and so as a GM, I would have you expand it a little bit so that it's more likely that you'll be able to actually use it during play.
Okay, but then how you'd use it would just be down to whatever you can think of to go with it, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of give and take, and if you've decided that, like, for example, your blacksmith was an armorer, you can decide that midway through. I mean, you can go, well, I was an armorer, so maybe I can do something with that in a particular situation. And if you're trying to do something really out of whack, that's my job as the GM to kind of go, yeah, let's pull it back a little bit. But that's part of 13th Age is there's a lot of give and take between the GM and the players.
Okay. All right. Well, I reckon I'll go Dwarven Duelist. I'll go 3 points. So, like, I guess reflecting time before I went to the kind of cleric studies, where I just kind of spent time fighting other dwarves and building up my rep.
Okay.
And I'll go like Priestess as a Acolyte for 3, so just reflecting my kind of clerical training and stuff.
Okay.
And then I'll go maybe a bit more random Beard Expert for 2 points, which I guess reflects my beardish ways.
Okay. Maybe there's competition. I mean, beards are probably really serious business when it comes to dwarves. So
Yeah.
maybe it's not just... Maybe there's a competition aspect there, socializing.
Yeah, or I was thinking like maybe like with other dwarves, like, you know, convincing someone to do something I want, or like, you know, berating them for having a pathetic beard or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. All right. Stephen and Bill, how are you coming along?
Okay, I think I'm going to go with Mountaineer for 2 points.
Okay.
Trader for 1 point, Traveler for 1 point, and Duelist for 4 points.
Okay. And Stephen, what about you?
The Half-Elf Warrior.
See, this is one of those times where I, as GM, go, that's a little generic. Let's see if we can make it something more specific and more interesting. So you're a half-elf warrior. Maybe you were a legionnaire. Maybe you were a mercenary. What did your character do before this point?
Well, I figure he grew up in this cloud city that I just made up, and then he spent several years. Traveling around. I mean, he might have been a caravan guard at some point, but I'm not sure if I want him to be tied to that. I feel like he spent a lot of time traveling on his own and just getting experience of the world.
Okay, so how about we do it like this? So how about we do Cloud City Warrior?
Okay.
That's more specific. It's more evocative. It gives you the thing that's your part of your background, makes you think about what that background means.
Okay.
So all right, so you've got that half of it. And then you wanted to be an explorer. Maybe let's see. Let me look at some other ones. See if there's some suggestions that I might be able to give you.
Right. I mean, I was just thinking that he would have a lot of experience with different parts of the world, familiarity with strange people and things.
How about widely traveled?
Right.
As a background.
Right.
Widely traveled indicates that you've been here and there, and you know a little bit about a lot of things.
Right. Yeah, that's basically what I had in mind.
Okay. So in that case, you probably wouldn't be able to use that to get a lot of really specific information, but you would be able to use it in a lot of circumstances, just not a lot of really in-depth circumstances.
Right.
Okay. So at this point, you should have a full character sheet. So with that being said, let's have everybody go around, introduce yourself and your character, and describe and basically list everything about your character that's relevant. So let's go ahead and start with Bill.
I'm a Wood Elf Ranger. Great Ranger, but easily lost in urban environments. I've had some positive relationships with the High Druid, and less often with the Elf Queen. My background is, say, 5 points in trapping, trapper, and 3 in building, construction.
Okay.
Whatever elves build.
There'd probably be as much growing as constructing,
right,
for elves.
Okay.
But okay, so why don't I move on to Jared? Describe your character for us.
Alright, so I've just come up with a quick name. So Trevelyan Green Iron, but he kind of goes by Trev for short.
Okay.
He is kind of famous amongst dwarves, maybe not so outside of dwarves, but amongst dwarves having the most sort of largest and bushiest beard of any dwarf. But that leads to a bit of like, hate and contention sometimes with some other dwarves who sort of want to take him down a peg. This includes the Dwarf King, who he has a bit of an ambiguous relationship with, who's sometimes sees him as a paragon of dwarves and sometimes sees him as a threat. And then he's got a fairly positive relationship with the priestess, who kind of trained him up as a cleric, which is kind of his calling at the moment. He's kind of got a bit of a background as a bit of a before his clerical days of being a bit of a layabout and sort of dueling a lot with other dwarves and becoming high up in that, but then sort of went into the priesthood kind of thing and studied under the priestess. And generally he's always regardless of whether he's fighting or being a priest, he's always kind of paid a lot of attention to his beard, and he's a bit of an expert on that kind of side of things. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Steven, tell us about your character.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna name him Storm since I'm not very good at coming up with good names quickly. That'll do. And he's from this Cloud City, which is normally a very closed society. His father is one of the few outsiders to visit it, and practically the only one to ever marry one of its citizens. So he was born growing up. He grew up feeling a bit of an outsider, and he's one of the very few people to ever leave Cloud City and go exploring the world. He spent several years traveling around, and he's trained as a Cloud City warrior. There are sufficiently martial people to defend themselves from outsiders, and the Cloud City. It has a special relationship with the Great Gold Worm. They consider themselves to be under his protection and in his service. So it doesn't have a lot of practical effect on the day-to-day life, but there have been several historic events in the past where they've been involved in great battles on his behalf. And it's okay. I guess that's it.
Okay. Bill, did you have a name for your character?
I didn't know.
Well, while you think about that, we will go ahead and get started. And the way we're going to start is I'm going to have you guys all roll your icon relationships. And what that means is you're going to take a d6 for every point that you have with the relationship. So if you have, for example, Jared has 2 points with the Dwarf King, he'll roll 2d6. If you have 1 point, you roll a d6. And what you're looking here for are for 5s or 6s. And what a 6 is you have something about your icon relationship is you can cash it in for a benefit. You can do it narratively. For example, the example I usually use is that let's say you've got an icon relationship with the Emperor, and you're about to get arrested by some city guards. You can use your icon relationship to say, that city guard, I went to the Imperial Academy with him. We've known each other for a long time. He's not going to arrest us. He's going to let us go. So that's the sort of thing you can do with a 6. You have some narrative control by way of your icon relationship. A 5, you still get a benefit in this particular case, but there's also a drawback. So to use that same example, if I rolled a 5 with the Emperor in that case, you might be able to say, okay, I went to the Imperial Academy with this guy, and we've known each other for years, and I as a GM might say, okay, that's true, but he doesn't necessarily like you. You owe him money. He's always been competing with you, so he might not arrest you, but he's not going to give you any time of it either. So, so everybody go ahead and roll your icon relationships. For those of you, how many of you have experience with Roll20?
I have experience with role-playing in general. I've never played 13th Age.
Okay. So you guys know how to do Roll20 then. So I won't give you the rundown of the dice roll or anything like that.
Okay, so I got 1 5 with the Great Gold Worm.
Are you rolling in Roll20, Stephen?
Well, I just rolled some dice on the table next to me. If you want, I can do Roll20.
I would like everybody to roll on Roll20.
Okay, just a second.
Not that I don't, that I'm tuning your trustworthiness. It's just simpler on me to be able to refer back to.
Right. Okay.
So I see Jared's. Bill, have you rolled yours?
Yeah, here dice. Okay, so.
Roll20, not dice stream, please, Stephen.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It's all right. I should have been clear on that.
Shoot,
Those are fantastically bad icon relationship rolls. That's a lot of 2s.
I see.
Wow. That really not much better.
Okay, so 6 with the Elf Queen.
6 with the Elf Queen, okay. So, what a lot of people will do is they'll basically decide, they'll use icon relationships roles at the beginning of a session to determine what sorts of things are going to happen during, or what icons are going to be involved in a particular adventure. And in this particular case, since Stephen's the only one that got a 5 or a 6, that means that his relationship with the Elf Queen is going to be one of the overriding factors on what sort of adventure you guys are going to have. Which means that I have 2. Okay. Okay. So at any point, Stephen, if you, any particular circumstance you think that your relationship with the Elf Queen should have an effect on a situation, you can stop me and say, look, I want to spend my icon relationship point, and this is what I want to do with it.
Okay.
So that might be like a skill roll. You might try to avoid rolling a skill for it, or something else. We'll see as it comes up. But anyway, so you guys have arrived. Actually, let's do it like this. You guys are near a village called Cario, which is in the eastern half of the Dragonwood. And actually, let me move over to the map. Let me try to move over to the map. So you guys should be on a new screen. And if you zoom out, Cario is going to be somewhere over near the old wall. I'm pinging the map where that's at. You might have to zoom out a little bit. But it's towards the north and over to the right from the upper left-hand corner. So you're near a village that's called Cario out here. This area is a frontier of the Dragon Empire. There are a lot of forested communities of elves and gnomes and halflings, but it's still a frontier area, and it's pretty far away from the protections of the Imperial legions, and it can get pretty dangerous at times. So we're going to go around the table, and I'm going to have each of you tell me why you're traveling out here with the rest of the group. So let's go ahead and start with Steven. Why are you out here traveling with everybody else?
I guess there's a ceremony to celebrate the Elf Queen's birthday, and I was traveling to the court, and
Okay.
I fell in with the Wood Elf Ranger who was heading to the court for a similar reason.
Okay. That works perfectly well. What about Jared? Why is Trev out here?
I think maybe sort of running with that idea that so it was the Queen's birthday, was it, that you were going to celebrate?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe going with that idea, like in a kind of semi-backhanded way, like because the Dwarf King sees the Elf Queen as like, you know, not really that worthy of respect. He sort of sent me along to be like the representative of the Dwarven court sort of thing, but like in a way that's kind of semi-punitive because it's like, haha, you got to go hang out with some elves for a while. So.
Okay, that works. And Bill has disappeared, so we'll ask Bill. We'll ask Bill why he's over here when he gets back.
I'm also traveling for the Queen's birthday.
Okay. All right. So it's a warm summer's day. It's probably about mid-morning. There's a bit of a breeze. The smell of trees and flowers and other natural elements are in the air. As you get closer to the village, though, you notice an unexpected scent, especially from what you expect to be an elven village, and that is smoke. A great deal of smoke, far more smoke than would be for cooking fires or anything of the like. And as you get closer still, you smell something familiar and yet horrifying under that, and that's the smell of burnt flesh. You hear a lot of chatter, you hear a lot of talking before you've even gotten within sight of the village. You crest a hill and look down, and you can see the village of Cario. It's an elven forested village. Houses are built into or using large trees. Gnomes tend to live in the roots, where the elves live either inside or up on their branches. There are other houses built into the hillsides, but for the most part, it's built into the trees. And you can see the source of the wood you've been smelling for the last several minutes, and it looks like that some of the trees have been set on fire. They're not currently ablaze, but they've been smoldering. You can see the smoke still streaming up them, and the cause of that is readily apparent. You can see arrows sticking out of numerous trees, as well as arrows sticking out of numerous unmoving bodies. It appears that you've gotten here in the aftermath of an attack of some sort. I can talk, I promise. It's just slightly difficult sometimes. And so the voices you've been hearing, the yelling, the chatter, outside the biggest tree, which looks like it's probably the town hall or the town meeting place, you can see a number of villagers all discussing things with an elderly elf man dressed in a red robe with a staff. And it looks like the elderly elf is trying to calm everybody down and kind of reassure them. It's hard to, you can't really tell what he's saying from this distance, but generally his body language and the body language of everybody around him, that it gives you that impression that he's trying to diffuse the situation and calm everybody down. You do see probably a half dozen or more people that have been killed. Their bodies haven't been moved or touched. You imagine if there are this many who have been killed, there are probably several more, at least, who have been injured. And so you stand on the edge of the village. What would you like to do?
Go closer.
Okay. Is there anything in particular you want to look at or do as you go closer?
I'd like to go to the guy trying to calm everybody down to find out exactly what happened.
Okay. So it takes him a minute for you to kind of push through the crowd and get to him, and because there's and he doesn't really notice you until you're more or less right on top of him, and then he looks up in surprise as he clearly doesn't recognize you, and he holds up his hand to the villager he was talking with, and motions you to come closer and said, "Greetings, my child. I would offer you my help, but as you can see, we're in a bit of a crisis."
What's happened?
This morning, a couple of hours ago, we were attacked by orcs. We'd heard that the Orc Lord was moving his troops into this area, but it didn't seem real until this morning. There were probably a dozen orcs came out of the woods firing arrows, cut down several of our people. The only reason the death toll wasn't more was because one of our brave lads mounted up a horse, grabbed a sword, and drove them off. I guess he scared them. I'm not sure, but whatever the reasons they had for leaving, it was a boon to us. But what brings you here to Cario?
We were traveling to the Queen's court. And
For the birthday celebration. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you have many folk that are injured? I could, help out in healing some of those folk. I have some skill in this area.
We would greatly appreciate anything you could do. There are several more injured here inside. If you would like to take a look at them, just tell the others inside that you have my permission.
Okay, so I'll head in there, I guess, and help out.
Okay. So there are probably another dozen people injured in there to some degree or another. Most of the injuries aren't too severe. A couple of them are. But go ahead and give me a skill roll. Let me, whatever you would use for medical or healing, go ahead and give me that.
Priestess, a collate roll? Yeah.
Yes, so give me that plus wisdom plus level.
Okay, so hang on, let me just work that out. So, yeah.
$19. So you're able to go around and ease suffering and in a few places help correct mistakes that their healers might have made that might have caused problems for some people down the road. But it looks like with your help, nobody in here should die, and people should probably be out and about much sooner than they otherwise would have been. And for everybody else, that's how a skill check is going to work. It's always going to be D20 plus your background plus your level plus whatever attribute is appropriate to that particular skill check. And sometimes you'll be able to determine that yourself relatively easily. Sometimes I will tell you. And sometimes I might tell you and you might disagree. You might have something entirely different in mind. Like, for example, Jared could have said, well, no, I think that intelligence should be what I'm using here. Because it's not my training, it's the things I've read and learned. But anyway. So what about Storm and
Very
did you
off.
get a name for it?
Very off. I've got it in my tag.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to try to secure some of the damage. I've got some background in Elvish construction and everything. I can try to help secure the stuff so that the places don't collapse or anything like that.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a skill check. And yeah, we'll use wisdom on this as well, since elven buildings are as much grown as built.
And I'm sorry, it's D20.
D20 plus your background, plus your level, plus the attribute modifier.
Okay.
I should specify.
Wow.
Unfortunately, in this particular case, it's not so much that you don't think you can help. It's just that you don't think that the buildings are in any particular danger right now. So it's not that you failed; it's that they didn't need your help. So, so Stephen, what are you doing?
I'm going to look over the battlefield and see if I can find out anything interesting about the attackers. Just get a judge of how many they were, what sort of tactics they used, things like that. Just see if I can get any information.
All right, roll me. All right, you rolled it.
Right.
And
Yeah. I'm assuming that it was wisdom.
Yeah, wisdom.
Right.
But yeah, you're able to look over the battlefield. You can look at every move that was made, every shot that was taken, and basically what you pull from that is that these are raiders. They're not armored. They're not equipped for anything more than light movement and like hit and run tactics is basically what they're doing. They're not there to get in any heavy engagements and slug it out toe to toe with guards or anything like that. And they came through the west, and you can't tell how many there were. The soil is just too churned up, but they did come from the west, and there's probably at least a dozen of them. It looks like they came in, shot some arrows, maybe cut a couple people down, and then retreated.
Okay. So if they're raiders, does it look like they tried to loot anything, or they were driven off before they were, or were they just trying to kill people?
It's difficult to tell just from what you've seen. That might be something better that you can learn by talking to people.
Okay.
So, Jared and Bill, what are you guys up to right now?
I suppose if I'm happy with the the wounded are under control now, I'd head out and I guess consult with Storm around the battlefield as well, and try and work out what we're going to do next about this.
So, Bill, what about you? Are you going to join everybody else, or are you going to do something else?
I'll talk to Storm about the wisdom of pursuing them.
Okay. So as you three kind of huddle around and talk to one another. The old elf in red comes walking over and approaches you and says, "I'm sorry to interrupt, but further bad news has hit us. It appears that the reason that the orcs retreated was because they grabbed several of our villagers from the outlying houses. We weren't sure until now, but it looks like they grabbed them and they fled. And gods only know the reason that they might have done that, but I suspect that if they aren't recovered soon, they won't be recovered alive and breathing. I hate to ask, but we're in dire need of somebody competent like yourselves seem to be to venture into the forest after these orcs and retrieve our friends and family."
We'll do what we can.
Fortunately, we have a skilled elven tracker with us, so we should be able to find.
True. Very true. Says, unfortunately, I can't offer much in the way of support since we here at the village need as much of it as I can, but it is dangerous out there going alone. So please take these, and he hands each of you a healing potion. So,
and before we go, could I just ask you, good sir, what's your name in case we need to find you again when we return? I am Trevelyan Green Iron, by the way.
My name is Saharila.
Saharila, okay.
I'll type it up. And it says, "Are you going to pursue immediately, or are you going to?"
What sort of time of day is it?
Started.
What's that?
What kind of time of day is it at the moment? Just
at this point, it's a little afternoon.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think we should get started with that.
Okay. And they were attacked, as best as you can figure, probably about 3 hours ago.
Okay.
All right. So let's see.
Right. Well, if they're carrying captives, they'll move slowly. We should be able to catch up with them.
The sooner we leave, the better.
Agreed.
All right. So you're heading through the woods. The trail is not particularly easy to find, but you think you can probably make your way. Unfortunately, the wood is a dangerous place even in the best of times, and these are not the best of times. So let's start with Bill. What is an obstacle or a danger that you guys face as you're heading through the woods?
Thick brambles.
Thick brambles. Okay. So with that in mind, Jared, how does Trev get everybody past those brambles? Or what are you going to do to get everybody past those brambles?
Well, I guess drawing on his kind of background as a duelist, his answer to these kind of situations is to just go in swinging with his what weapons have I got? With his mace. That's not going to help, is it?
It can be an axe if you'd like. The thing with 13th Age is that it's not a rigidly defined weapon list either. So if you'd like that to be an axe or a sword,
yeah, an axe is great. Yeah.
Okay, that's an axe.
He gets in there with his axe and just starts hacking away at the brambles. And
okay, so go ahead and give me a skill check.
Yep.
See how well you do this. We're going to use strength on this. So whatever background you feel is most appropriate to hacking through brambles.
Yep. So I'll use my sort of duelist background.
Okay, that's probably fine.
Combat training stuff, yeah.
Yeah, you know you can spot weak points.
Yep.
And so, all right, so yeah, you use your duelist eye to to pick the most vulnerable places to hack through the brambles, where it's going to dislodge whole swaths of branches and thorns with just a few swings of your axe. And it probably only takes you about 30 minutes to get through what otherwise might have taken you 2 hours or more. So there's one success. And so, Jared, now you describe an obstacle that you guys face on the way while you're tracking these orcs.
So I guess we reached the edge of a deep sort of ravine that it doesn't look like we're going to easily be able to get around. That it's not clear how the orcs got across, but we can't see a way initially.
Okay. All right. So with that in mind, Stephen, how is Storm trying to get them past this ravine?
Well, I guess I'm a mountaineer, so my natural inclination would be to set up a rope and just rappel down and climb. I could climb up the other side and let down a rope for them.
Okay. So go ahead and give me a mountaineer check. Let's do Dex for this.
Okay.
Wow. You guys are knocking it out of the park now. Yeah. This is completely trivial for Storm. This is, this is a walk in the park. You're able to climb all the way down, like a mountain goat, climb right the hell back up, and secure a couple of ropes to a tree stump on the other side, which the other two are able to cross really, really easily. So there's 2 successes. All right, and lastly, Stephen, why don't you describe an obstacle that you guys face while tracking you?
We run into a wood dragon, which is not a real dragon. It's just a pretty big lizard, but that's what it's called. And it's not necessarily attacking us, but it's looking at us with some hostility.
All right. So, how is Barryoff going to get the party past that, Bill? Of course, how is he going to try to get him past that?
We have to get by quickly, so I would say I'll try to dispatch it.
Oh, you're just going to try to kill it then? Okay. So go ahead and make me a dex check, plus, are you going to try to stab it or shoot it?
Shoot it. I have a double ranged attack.
Okay. So, yeah, don't make an attack roll. This is still a skill check. So in this case, it'd be like you knowing the skill check will be to you knowing exactly the weak spot and being able to get to the weak spot.
Okay.
So go ahead and use Dex.
Sorry, I keep losing my die roll here. Do any of my backgrounds come into play here, like Trapper?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would probably... Your experience dealing with animals would let you know the best place for you to shoot. Good God. You guys almost completely bombed your rolls for relationship dice and then have made up for it with almost every D20 since. Alright, so yeah, you know exactly where to shoot this thing, and even though you can't kill it, you know where to shoot it so that it's going to be more inclined to run away than to stay and fight. And so you do. You while the lizard is staring at Trev and Storm, you sneak around the back and basically put an arrow in the back of its shoulder blades, and it kind of drives it crazy and sends it running away. All right. So you guys have navigated the dangers of the Dragon Wood with great skill, and because of this, because you were so skillful in getting through all these obstacles, you arrive at you find the orc camp before they find you. It looks like there are a couple of sentries out. They're not really paying too much attention, but because you were able to get here so quickly, they didn't expect pursuit for probably another hour or two at the very earliest, and you've gotten here far before they've really been decided to be vigilant. So you can see a couple sentries, and it looks like the orcs have made camp in a clearing of trees. They've set up a huge bonfire in the center of the clearing. It's big enough to, that it's taller than any of you. It's probably a good 6 feet high. Near the campfire from where you're at, you can see that there are, looks like probably 3 or 4 captives. They've been stripped. They're still tied up, and it looks like the orcs are setting up a spit to roast their captives on. Or at least you can assume that it's to roast their captives on, considering you don't see any other meat or provisions that might require a 6-foot-long rotating piece of wood. So what would you guys like to do?
Sorry, just explain the piece of wood again. Sorry, I just missed that.
The piece of wood is a spit.
Oh, right. Okay, and they're going to cook the captives on it, kind of thing.
It's a good assumption, yes.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
I am a bit
Alright.
tempted, but we should probably rescue him.
Yeah, I think we should try to take out the sentries first, so that they don't raise the alarm, and then try to take out 1 or 2 orcs at a time until, put off the big fight as long as possible, whittle them down before that.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. That sounds good. Maybe we should try and sort of hit them from range if we can, and then charge in or something, or use the surprise to our advantage.
Archery attacks on the sentries?
You can, if you make an attack, you can take down the sentries. I'm not going to make you roll for it. At this point, they would be completely surprised.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and do that then.
Okay. I want everybody to make a stealth check and add a +5 to it.
Okay, stealth. What do you? That's just D20 plus Dex.
No, it's going to be a background check. So
Okay.
it's going to be D20 plus Dex plus whatever background +2 for your level. This will be the time where your luck goes the other direction, I'm sure.
So if you don't really have a background that would work, do you just take no extra bonus for it, kind of thing? Just roll unskilled?
If you can't interpret one of your backgrounds in such a way that you might have been stealthy or sneaky, then yeah, you wouldn't add a bonus for that. But generally, I'm pretty forgiving on that sort of thing.
So
Okay.
trapping?
Well, maybe I had to sneak around quietly around in the cathedral so that I didn't disturb the prayers. So I'll use
Hey,
that.
that works. Hey, that's perfectly legit as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, and an extra +5 in addition to the other modifiers you said.
Yes, an extra 5 on top of that because you did so well in getting to them.
Ooh.
I missed the 5, so I should be 27. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you're so we have 2 27s
And a 12.
and a 12. Unfortunately, the 12 is not going to be in your favor. However, it's still enough for you guys to get the sentries down and to surprise the orcs in general. So let's see. Just a second. Alright. Now you guys switched over to the correct map. Oh man, that's really weird. Okay. So, let me get your hit points real quick since I don't have them on here. Trev, how many hit points do you have, max? Or
sorry, yeah. Yep, I've got 36.
6. Okay. Steven, how many does Storm have?
40.
And Barry off.
32.
Okay. You guys should each have control of your tokens. Move them around. Make sure you can actually adjust the numbers. The green is your hit points. If it were any other point, I would have recoveries on there, but there's no need for this. You guys can move your characters wherever you'd like, so long as it's not within this this circle of the center of the clearing. You can move your characters anywhere else outside of that. So I just put you there because that was closest to where I had the tokens.
Whereabouts are the prisoners?
The prisoners are right here, right next to the fire.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess I'll go as close to them just to sort of run to their aid.
Okay. All right, and with that, everybody go and roll me initiative. Don't tell it to me yet, just roll it.
And what is initiative? Sorry.
Initiative is going to be Dex plus level, plus D20. It should be on your sheet.
Right.
So the one on the sheet will be already up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's underneath your recoveries and above your equipment is what you should add for your initiative.
What's that added to? Just D20 plus the initiative?
Yeah, D20 plus Dex, plus the initiative, yeah. So Steven's got a 6.
I'm sorry, plus Dex, plus the initiative?
Dex, no, plus level.
In there, or is initiative already included?
Whatever it says for initiative is correct. I was just breaking it down because initiative is Dex plus level. So I didn't mean to confuse you on that.
20, nice.
Wow. So I know who's going first, unless I roll otherwise. 19. All right, let me roll my initiatives. Wow, that was a really long time for Roll20 to respond on that. I don't think I've ever seen it respond that slow with a dice roll. Wow. Okay. All right. So you guys basically got the ambush, and what that means is that one of you can go. Very off, since you rolled the highest, you get to go, and then one other person in the party can make an action. So you get a full full turn. You can move, attack, do everything you could otherwise do. For 13th age, it's similar to D&D in a lot of respects, where you have a move action. Typically used just for moving, but there are other possibilities. You have a standard action, which is what you usually use for attacking, and you have a quick action. And you can trade down, so if you don't want to use your standard, you can have 2 moves. If you don't want to use your moves, you can have 2 quick actions, and so on and so forth.
I have something called Elven Grace. It says at the beginning of my turn I'm supposed to roll to see if I get an extra standard action.
Yes. So you start off, you roll a d6, and if it's equal to or less than the escalation die, which I'm about to get into, you get an extra standard action. For the surprise round, however, you don't get that. It'll be at the start of the first full turn. You'll be able to do that.
And I'm within archery range of both of those archers?
You're within, you're within archer range of everybody. These three right here, Orc Raider 2, I gotta zoom in. Orc Raider 2, 3, and the Orc Archer 2 are nearby. Everybody else is far away.
Okay, I'd like to attack Orc Archer 2.
Okay, so go ahead and make your attack roll. And that's going to be a d20 plus whatever it has on that particular attack.
Plus 6 versus AC?
Yes, that sounds about right. And so you can, if you'd like, you can do a double ranged attack instead of just...
Yeah. And I determine that when I roll damage, don't I? By dropping my damage dice to d6s and looking for doubles?
Yeah, sort of. So you don't have to declare the double attack up front. At least I don't think you did. Let me see. Oh no, that is the default option, is to make a double attack. So
Right.
yeah, so you reduce your damage, but you need to make a second attack now since you rolled an even. So go ahead and make your second attack roll before rolling dice. Your damage, excuse me. Okay. All right. So 10 and 16, were you attacking the archer twice?
Yes.
Okay. The 22 will hit. The 16 will miss. So go ahead and roll your damage.
And just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, it says that I get a +2 attack bonus if it's against a different target. I actually get an advantage for switching targets.
So if your second attack had gone against the Orc Raider, you would have had an 18. But since you attacked the Orc Archer twice, it's as is.
Okay. Wow.
All right.
Okay.
So you shoot, but unfortunately, it's only a grazing blow. All right, and either Trev or Storm can make an action or take a turn.
I guess I'll go ahead and make an action then, if that's all right. So I will start off by so just one action, is it, or a full turn?
It's a full turn.
Okay, so I'll start off by just murmuring a few words to my god and cast Bless on for broad effect. So that will give +1 to 3 nearby allies. Is that right?
That's fine.
So that won't apply to me, but we'll give the others a +1. Is that right?
I believe so, unless it says you and
It just
other.
says allies. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it wouldn't apply to you in this case.
Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to use my Javelin of Faith on the Orc Raider 2.
Okay. Go ahead and make your attack roll.
So it's first is physical defense. Physical defense, rather. Oh, terrible.
Yes, 8 versus physical defense will not hit. Do you do miss damage?
Yes, it says 2 on a miss.
Okay. So generally speaking, in 13th Age, you do damage equal to your level every time you miss, with melee attacks and certain ranged attacks.
I had missed 2 on mine as well.
What's that? Yes. So
Does that
that'll
count?
be.
My second shot against the archer.
That's a good point. Yes, that I did forget that. So yes, your missed damage will have done an extra 2 on that. So it's one of those things that no attack, even if you miss, is completely worthless, and it definitely adds up. There's been more than a few times in my games, demos and otherwise, where an enemy has died because somebody went up to it and missed, and it's pretty hilarious, I have to say. Okay, so start of the first real turn, and the escalation die is 1. What the escalation die is every turn. It starts at 0, and then every turn it increases by 1. And what it does is all of you will add the escalation die to your attack rolls. Not your damage rolls, but your attack rolls. And that way, as the fight continues to go on further, you're going to hit more and more often. Certain special kinds of enemies, like dragons or quote-unquote boss type characters, will also be able to use the escalation die. But for the most part, it's limited to players. It's only going to come up for enemies on a relatively infrequent basis. And in this case, because you guys you've gotten the ambush, you've completely surprised these orcs who have not, they weren't ready for pursuit or an ambush or anything like that. The escalation die is starting at 1 instead of 0, and it's something you can do with the escalation die. Like if the orcs got reinforcements in the middle of the fight, the escalation die might drop down 1 to represent you're losing the momentum, and you have to regain it. Or in this case, you're starting off with the momentum, and so the escalation die is starting higher than usual. So it's something I really like about 13th Age. It keeps fights from dragging on quite as long as they would in other systems. But with that being said, the escalation die is at 1, and Barryoff, you are up.
Okay, so I'm rolling for Elven Grace.
Okay.
And I do not make it.
No, you don't.
Right, I have to roll less than or equal to.
Yes, you have to roll a 1 or less. It's another thing that becomes considerably easier as you go on. And there's a feat you can take at level 5 that you start off with a D4 instead of a D6, and that makes it a lot easier too.
All right, I'll do another double ranged attack against the Orc Archer 2 and Orc Raider 3.
Okay, so make your attack against the Orc Archer first. And if you roll doubles, you can make it an even. If you roll an even, then you can attack with the Orc Raider. Alright, 20. 20 will hit. Roll your other attack against the Orc Raider. And don't forget the escalation die or the +2.
Okay. We got the escalation die.
That's okay. Alright. So the 11 will miss, but the 21 will hit. Or
21.
So yeah. Do you miss damage on?
It says I'm sorry.
Do you do miss damage on your ranged attacks? Is basically what I'm asking.
It doesn't say one way or the other.
Yes, you do, because it says under basic ranged attack. Basically, the double attack is you're making 2 basic ranged attacks.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so you do miss damage on that. So the Orc Raider will take 2 damage. And go ahead and roll your damage for the Orc Archer who you hit. You and those ones, man. They're not your friends. Alright, either way, that's still 10 damage. Alright, and he is now bloodied, which means that he is at half health or less. With some characters, you get bonuses to attack bloodied enemies or other effects on bloodied enemies. With some monsters, will have different effects and abilities when they are bloodied. But generally, it's just to let you guys know that it's at half health or less. So, Barrioth, are you doing anything else? You still have a move and a quick.
Still have what?
You still have a move action and a quick action.
I don't understand quick action.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I don't understand quick action. What can I do as a quick action?
If you do, I don't think you have any abilities that let you use a quick action. Some characters do. Like, I know Jared does with his cleric. He has things that he can use as a quick. You as a ranger, I don't, especially this one, I don't think has anything it can do with a quick action.
Okay.
But you can still move if you would like.
I think I'm comfortable where I am.
Okay. So with that in mind, it's the Orc Raider's turns. Orc Raider 2 is going to attack Trev. 3 is going to come down here and play with Barrioth. 4 is going to double move and engage Storm. 5 is going to double move and engage Trev. And 1 is going to double move and attack Barrioth. So there's only going to be 2 attacks because some of them had to give up their standard for moves. But that still means that Trev is going to be attacked once and Barrioth is going to be attacked once.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be first against Trev. This is going to be versus AC.
Yep.
12 versus AC, I'm pretty sure, is going to miss.
AC 18, so that's a miss.
Yes. And
Do
you
I
need
take miss
to,
damage too?
no, most monsters don't do miss damage. Some will, but they don't get it automatically like you guys do as players. And against Barrioth is even worse. Wow. Ugh. So they run up and attack, swing their swords at you guys, but you are able to skillfully dance out of the way. And Trev, it is your turn.
Okay, so first of all, as a quick action, I'm going to use my Invocation of Justice, so +4 for the battle to miss damage for my attacks and the attacks of my allies.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to go ahead and use a basic melee attack against, we'll go against Orc Raider 2, I suppose. 2 was the one I hit before, wasn't it? Yeah, I'll go against 2.
I don't remember which one you hit, but it doesn't matter for reasons that we'll get it. We'll get it.
All right, okay.
I think I did miss damage on 2.
Yes, you did.
Rolled, but it seems to be delayed. Hang on.
No, I think it just came out.
There it is. Yep.
4? That seems awfully low.
It says that's my basic melee attack +4 versus AC. Yeah.
Oh, part of the reason it's low is because you didn't add in the escalation die.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Even so, it's still a miss, regardless. But
Okay, so I'll still do 6 damage for a miss though with that effect of the Invocation of Justice.
Okay, and this is why attacking the raiders, missing the raiders didn't. Which one you hit didn't matter because all of the raiders are what's called a mook mob.
Okay.
And what they are is, if you're familiar with 4th edition and the way that they had minions, they had 1 hit point, and you basically killed them on any. Mooks are similar, except they have a shared hit point pool. And when you do a certain amount of damage to that hit point pool, one of them dies. So in this particular case, I'll just let you know, each one of these has basically 10 hit points. So if you hit any combination of Orc Raiders for 10 hit points, one of them dies. And in this particular case, you were attacking. Which one were you attacking, Trev? 5 or 2?
2, yeah.
Okay, so you were attacking 2. If they'd had individual hit points, you wouldn't have killed 2 because you would have only been at 8. But since it's a hit point pool, you guys have collectively done 10 damage to the mooks. And that means that Orc Raider 2 is now dead. Does that make sense? Did I explain that?
How do you choose which one goes?
It's, in this particular case, since he had told me that I was attacking this particular one. That's the one I was attacking. It can get kind of weird. Let's say he hit, and instead of doing 6 damage, he done 16 damage. In that case, I would have said, all right, you did 6 damage, you did enough to kill Raider 2. And then I would have kept going on the hit points and said, oh, and you've also done enough to kill another one. Let's pretend that Orc Raider 5 wasn't there. Let's say he was over here for whatever reason. I would give Trev the opportunity to describe how he killed one of these other orcs. So he could have said, okay, I chop off Orc Raider's 2 head, then I throw my axe and kill Orc Raider 5. Or something like that. It can get really interesting and really gonzo, strange, and really awesome. I really love it. Doing a demo, the first demo I actually did, I had somebody who was playing a barbarian did a crit and just did a ton of hit points to the mook mob I had there. He ended up killing 4 of them, and he was only in melee combat with 1. So he described that, oh, I swing my axe, I chop off this guy's head, and the momentum carries me to this guy, and my axe buries in his chest, and I cut off this other guy's arm, and then I lose control of my axe, and it goes spinning end over end, and buries itself in this guy's head, and with his last twitchy steps, he walks back over and drops at my feet so I can pick up my axe again. That's why I really love mooks, because you can do really wacky stuff like that. Sometimes it gets hard to describe, but it's a fun, creative part of dealing with mooks. And they're another one of my favorite parts of 13th Age. They're a lot of fun to use because it makes players describe wildly improbable and cool things they did in order to kill 2 or 3 enemies in a single blow. So, but in this case, Trev did enough to kill 1 of them. So Orc Raider 2 is dead, and the Orc Raiders still have a combined pool. And the thing with mooks is that the GM can either tell you up front, these guys are mooks, or they can leave you to kind of puzzle it out on your own. I kind of take the middle road, in that I don't tell you they're mooks until it's very obvious that they're mooks. So once you've killed one, is the point where I was going to tell you that these guys are clearly part of a group. So Trev, it's still your turn. Is there anything else you would like to do?
So I think I just have a move action left.
Yes.
Are you able to change down actions to be another quick action, if you don't move, or is it just kind of?
No. Yeah, you can change down. You can exchange your move for a quick.
Okay. In that case, just having a look what I've got here. I might also actually cast Shield of Faith, so for broad effect. So I think it was a +1 to AC. For this battle for 3 creatures nearby. I don't know if that can include me or not.
Yes. If it says creatures, it can include you.
Okay, so everyone gets a +1 to AC then.
Okay, so everybody has a +1 to AC. Storm and Barioth, you have a +1 to attacks from Bless.
Yep.
Okay, and that's the end of Trev's turn. It is Orc Archer 2's turn. He is going to move over here, and he is going to take a shot at Barioth. Or at least he will if my fan will start blowing my notes.
Bring it on, Scaly.
Alright, so this is going to be versus AC. 18 versus AC.
18 with the effects of that spell.
Okay. So you need to, instead of you, I don't know why I can't talk tonight. When you're attacking somebody, you're trying to equal their defense, not roll over it. So in this case, an 18. If your defense is 18, this hits. So you will take 7 damage, and don't forget to put that on your token. Then is Orc Archer 1. He's going to come over here. He's going to attack. Let's see. Trev is probably the biggest threat that he's noticed. So he's going to shoot at you. You will miss horribly.
Okay, great.
All right. So those are the orc archers. Storm, it is your turn.
Okay, well, I'm going to use my power attack special ability
Okay.
and go after Orc Raider 4. So
Okay.
D20, it's +6 for the basic attack, +1 for the blast, +1 for the escalation die. Do I also get the +4 for my background as a Cloud City warrior?
No. No.
Okay.
That's just for skills.
Okay.
25 will still do it though.
Yeah.
So that's a natural odd hit. Do any of your flexible attacks work off that?
Yeah, it's my critical hit range with melee attacks increases by a cumulative +1 this battle until I score a melee critical hit. Yeah. So when you score a melee critical hit, your crit range drops back to normal.
That's right. Okay, so you did hit. Go ahead and roll your damage, and don't forget to your not the escalation die, the power attack damage.
Right. Okay. That's
That should be
18.
interesting. 18. So all right.
So I just smash forward. I go through Orc Raider. I cleave down Orc Raider 4 and I go into Orc Raider 5 and smash into him.
Yep. That works perfectly. So you do kill both of them. All right. Anything else from Storm? You still have a move and a quick. I don't think you have any quick actions though.
Okay, I guess I'll move closer. I'll charge up to Orc Archer 1 and get in his face.
Okay, you can do that. All right. Start of round 2. The escalation die is at 2, and Barryoth, you're up.
Okay. Once per battle is a free action, I can choose an enemy. The crit range of my attacks against that enemy expands by 2 for the rest of the battle.
Okay.
A mob of mooks counts as a single enemy.
Yes.
So I'd say my Orc Raiders are my target.
Okay. Before you do that, roll your Elven Grace.
Right. Nope.
Okay.
Not yet graceful.
Not graceful enough.
Now I'm in melee with these two guys.
Yes.
Can I still use my ranged weapon, or do I have to change the sword because of that?
All right. So the person you're attacking with a ranged, like say you were attacking Orc Raider 1, you'd be able to attack him with a ranged attack in melee with no complications. Unfortunately, everybody else engaged with you would be able to make an attack for opportunity.
Would that just out of interest? Would that apply if he attacked them both with his kind of double attack, like 1 on each? Would that get him out of that?
He would still take the opportunity attack because he has to attack one of them first and then roll an even before he can attack the second.
Right.
Another option, Barryoth, is you can use your move roll, your move action to disengage, and what that is you'll roll a saving throw. In this case, it'll be you need to roll a 12 or higher on a d20, and if you succeed, then you can move away without taking any opportunity attacks, and then you can attack as you'd like. If you fail to disengage, there's no penalty. You just can't move without taking an opportunity attack.
Okay. I'll try that then.
Okay, so roll just a straight d20, and you need a 12 or higher.
No.
Nope, you gotta roll a 9. So
that doesn't cost an action, or is that like a move action? No, okay.
No, it doesn't cost an action. He can still move, but he would get opportunity attacks or he can just not move, and he won't have wasted his move action.
All right, I'll try my double range attack.
Okay. All
Orc
right.
Raider.
So one of them is going to get an opportunity attack.
All right.
So let me go ahead and do that now and get it out of the way. And he's going to hit you for 7 damage. I'm sorry, 5 damage. And ironically enough, he hits you and dodges away. So now you can go ahead and make your attack, or attacks.
All right. Escalation's at 2.
Yes. And
Less
your blood.
Less is
Yeah.
1. And nothing happens yet because of the crit range business?
No, it
Okay.
adds 3 to your crit range, right?
2.
Oh, 2. All right, so you'll crit on a 17 plus.
Oh, all right.
Or an 18 plus, sorry. And you crit. That is not an even roll, so you don't get a second attack. But on the other hand, I'm not sure you need one anyway. So describe how. Go ahead and roll your dice. You have crit. So roll your regular damage and double it.
And I'm not sure how to do doubling in this.
Don't worry about it. Just roll it, and I'll double it. All right. So indeed, you do enough to kill both Orc Raiders. So describe how you killed both Orc Raider 1 and 3.
I had my sights on Orc Raider 3. He took a shot at me and then started running away, but I kept my sights on him, took a shot, and then bashed Orc Raider 1 with my bow. Backhanded him with my bow.
All right.
Does that work, or do I have to have an arrow that does a trick shot?
Oh, no. You can describe it however you'd like.
All right.
I mean, I like... It's not in the rulebook. There's not a 13th age thing. I just like to have characters describe how they kill things. It makes them feel more invested. Plus, it's really interesting to see what players might come up with. So, all right. So those 2 are dead. You still have a move and a quick if you would like to move.
No quick.
Okay.
Well, actually, I did my quick, didn't I? I declared.
Actually, yeah, you're right. I think you have to spend a quick for that.
That was at the beginning of my action.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's good. So you're done. All the Orc Raiders are dead. I don't have to worry about them. So that means, Trev, it is your turn.
Okay, so Bill, how many hit points have you lost?
12.
12. Okay, I'm gonna start off by using my quick to use my heal ability. So you get to use a recovery.
Okay. So what that means is that on your sheet it should have a recovery. It should be like, I think probably 2d6 plus 2 or something like that.
2d8 plus 1.
2d8 plus 1, okay. So you'll roll the 2d8 plus 1 and you'll add that many hit points back.
Well, that worked out well.
That worked out perfectly.
Okay, and then I'm going to move up next to Orc Archer 1.
Okay.
And make a basic melee attack.
Okay. And normally, Bill, what would happen then when you spent the recovery is everybody has a limited store of recoveries. It's kind of like healing surges for 4th edition. Most characters have 8. Storm would have 9 because he's a fighter. And so when you run out of those, healing becomes more difficult. Not that you can't do it, but it becomes more problematic.
Yep. Okay, so I'm rolling just my regular +2 for the escalation die, is that right?
Right.
Okay. Alright, 23.
23 will hit. Go ahead and roll your damage.
Okay, great.
While he's rolling the recovery rolls, we can choose to use them, or something needs to trigger them, like his spell just did.
It can be either. You can rally and spend a recovery yourself. Once per battle, you can do that automatically. After that, it becomes you have to roll on a d20. You have to roll a saving throw to rally. And when you rally, you can spend a recovery. But for the most part, it's something that someone else triggers. Like if you took your healing potion, that would trigger spending a recovery plus a bonus. Jared's healing ability is one. Other characters have abilities that will let you spend a recovery. But if you really need to, you can spend a standard action and recover one yourself.
Thank you.
So 9 damage from the cleric. All right.
Yep, so he strikes a glancing blow with his axe, I suppose, and.
No, it's a pretty solid blow. Just didn't do. That's not bad damage. 9 damage is pretty solid. Okay. So anything else from Trev? Actually, I think.
No, that's all my 3. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. That means it's Orc Archer 2. He's going to take a shot at Ferrioth. It's going to be versus AT. He's going to miss. I am rolling absolutely horribly. Orc Archer 2 is going to drop his bow and bring out a scimitar. And he's going to attack Trev, because Trev hit him first. Ooh. And
yep,
boy,
like
is he
facing
hit Trev.
Yep.
He's angry.
Trev, you just took 12 damage as the orc crit you, enraged with his scimitar.
How much? Sorry,
12.
12. Okay, so.
You might notice that the enemies don't. I'm not rolling damage for them. That's because most enemies have static damage.
I'm going to use my free action. Is that your best shot? After being hit by an enemy attack, you can heal using a recovery.
Okay. I think you heal only half because the escalation die isn't 3 or higher.
I think it says if it's 2+, you heal normal.
Is it 2+ or is it 3+? I can't remember.
2+ it says on my sheet.
Yeah. All right, 2+, you're fine then.
All right.
I admit, for as much as I've run this game, I still don't have everything memorized.
Alright, that works out well.
Alright. That's his turn. Yes. Okay, Storm, you're up.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a basic attack against this Orc Archer, and that's.
Alright, so that's a natural even hit.
Yeah, so let's see. So I get to reroll any ones from.
And it is. Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, and yes, it is a hit, but I kind of already said that, didn't I?
Yeah. Okay.
And there you go. So, alright, so that is
18.
14, 18. Alright. Orc Archer 1 is bloodied.
But not, okay, but not killed.
Not quite dead. He's only mostly dead. Alright, escalation die is top of round 3. Escalation die is at 3. Barrioth, you are up.
Elven Grace. Still can't do it.
There are some fights where Elven Grace is a game breaker, and then there's other fights where you just never get to use it.
I'll try double range attacks, starting with Orc Archer 2.
Okay.
Do I have to call my second target yet, or?
No, you don't. Let's see if you have a second target first.
Yep. 6 plus 1 plus 3.
Alright, that will hit. And you can make a second attack.
And is there any disadvantage for going for the second archer?
No. In fact, you have every reason to
No
go
chance
out.
no chance of hitting a friendly?
No. If you have a feat that basically allows you to fire into melee combat, even if you didn't, the only time anything bad would happen would be if you rolled a natural 1.
And there are no pluses to my damage roll, right?
No, none to your damage. So, alright, 10 damage to that one. Make your second attack. Alright, 15 will miss, but you still do 2 miss damage.
And that was to.
Oh, sorry, that'll be 6 miss damage rather, because I used my.
Oh, that's right, that's 6 miss damage. Alright, in that case, describe how your miss killed Orc Archer number 1.
Yes. I'm sorry. How the miss hit him?
Yes, how your miss killed him.
I hit a rock in front of him and it bounced up, hit him in the temple.
Alright, hey. So,
And I meant to do that.
alright, anything else from Virtuacon?
No.
Alright. Trev, you are up.
Alright, I'm going to use my Javelin of Faith on Orc Archer 2.
Okay. Roll away.
I hope you guys didn't mind me going for Archer 1, but I'm not doing much
No, that's
damage
right.
with each shot, and I figured I could finish him off, and then you guys could pile on the other one. There's just nothing down.
That's versus physical defense, right?
Yes, physical defense.
Alright, that'll hit.
Okay, great.
Though I'm not sure you can fail to kill him, let's find out.
That's the 6.
You came really close to not killing him, but yes, it was pretty much impossible. Alright, describe how you kill Orc Archer number 2.
So I sort of like hurl a spear of light at him, and it sort of hits him in the chest, knocking him to the ground.
Alright. That works. Combat is over.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a bathroom break.
That's fine. We're not going to be too much longer, though.
Okay, I guess at this point I'd run across and check on the captives.
Alright, the captives are alive. They are not in particularly great shape, but they're not in any immediate danger of being dead. Looks like the orcs were just kicking him around, beating him up, tenderizing him, so to speak. But none of them seems to have anything worse than a broken bone or two, along with a lot of bruises and contusions and that sort of thing.
I go ahead and just give them a bit of first aid to help them in the travel back to the village.
Okay, you don't even need to roll for that. There's no risk of real failure here. So you splint a couple broken bones, you get a broken arm and a sling, that sort of thing. There's only 4 of them, and none of them seems. They're all relatively young, and they'll be able to make the trek back without too much trouble. Though they would appreciate if you find them some clothes, since the orcs had stripped them down to get them ready for dinner.
Alright, we'll look around for some clothes then.
Alright. So you can scrounge up enough from the orcs to make them decent, if not necessarily comfortable.
Yep. Get a couple of loincloths rigged up or something.
Yeah, exactly.
While he's doing that, can I do a bit of hunting in the area to give him something to eat?
Sure. It's not really easy to find much because the orcs tended to drive off a lot of the game, but after probably an hour or so, you're able to get a couple of rabbits and a couple of other pieces of small game. It's not much, but it'll be enough to get them back to the village. So, anything you want to do, Stephen, before you guys head back to the village?
I'm going to examine the bodies, see if I can find anything interesting on them, any indications, like if they were acting under orders from some other group or anything. And then I'm gonna drag the bodies over to the fire, use it as a pyre, and burn them up.
Okay. You look through the bodies. You don't really find anything that indicates if they were working under orders. Though, given your experience with the Elf Queen and her relationship with the Orc Lord, you can probably guess the Orc Lord kind of sent them over here. Maybe not for a specific purpose, but maybe just to cause trouble.
Right, but there's no specific evidence that I could bring to the Elf Queen, right?
No, no specific evidence. Orcs aren't really known for writing down orders quite so much. And if they did, you probably would have been facing a lot more than just 7 orcs.
Right. But there's no giveaway token or anything that I could use. Okay, well.
No. If this had been an ongoing thing, yeah, I would have. Even if you hadn't, the moment you asked about it, I would have decided yes, there is one now. But since this is a one shot, it doesn't take you too long to get the orcs piled up and burned. The captives, the ones who can help anyway, they are more than happy to drag the orcs over and throw them on the fire. I imagine it's very cathartic for them to throw the orcs onto the very fire that the orcs had intended to cook them upon. But after you guys get the orcs on fire, you look through their pockets for any loose change, of which unfortunately there is very little, and then you guys head back towards the Cario village. It takes you considerably less time to get there than it did to find the orcs, since you know where you're going and you're not worrying about obstacles or orc patrols or anything like that. So you're probably back to the village late afternoon, probably an hour and a half after you left the clearing in the woods. And there is tremendous surprise and gratitude and elation as they see you come out of the trees towards the village with the relatively unharmed neighbors following along right behind you. And before too long, Sarilla is greeting you and thanking you, and basically telling you that they, without your help, that these poor villagers would have been killed and eaten, and they the village as a whole owes you a great debt, which they can never really properly repay. But they will. The least that they can do is have a feast in your honor and send you on your way with a good night's rest and a full belly. And we're done.
All right, great.
Well, thank you very much.
No
Thank you,
problem. Do you guys have any questions or comments or anything about the system or anything like that? Anything you didn't understand or I didn't explain very well?
No, it seemed pretty straightforward. I guess, like, how would you normally bring in the one unique thing and because I guess the icon relationships didn't kind of come up in play so much. Like,
in this case, the icon relationship didn't come up. It's hard, or at least I have a hard time bringing up some of them in a demo. They tend to show up more in a longer campaign or even a mini campaign. But in that case, it would be more that I would structure the adventures around some of those things, like the one unique thing, or the icon relationships, where they would come into play. Like in this particular case, you guys didn't have a lot of icon relationships in common. One of the few that two of you had was the Elf Queen. So I was probably going to do an adventure oriented around the Elf Queen from the very get-go. The fact that Stephen then rolled a 6 kind of cemented it there. And like as for using that icon relationship, where I might have used that would be like when you guys are tracking through the woods, Stephen could have said perhaps, you know, I'm used to the Queen's Woods. I have a relationship with the Elf Queen. Here's my 6. I get past this one particular obstacle. I'm familiar enough with the woods that I can just bypass it. I don't need a skill because I've got experience, because my relationship has taught me these things. Bringing in the one unique thing is not always an easy thing, especially in a one-shot. Some one unique things really lend themselves to, let's get it in there right away. Others not so much. In this case, none of the one unique things really were. They could have come up. Like for example, the Bill, you're the best tracker in the woods. If you'd failed your roll, like to get past the obstacles and stuff like that, because of your one unique thing, I would have probably gone, you know what? I'm gonna let you re-roll that because your one unique thing indicates that you have a greater than normal experience with these things. You should be better at this than most other people. And so that's how I would have done that. That's not necessarily something that's in the rule book, but it's certainly not outside of what the rules are trying to do in this particular case. So your one unique thing makes you special. It makes you better than somebody sometimes, and that might have been one of those times. But your other one unique things, they weren't bad. I'm not saying that they weren't. It's just that in this particular scenario, it wasn't something that I could readily work in. I know 13th Age GMs who are really good who can do that. Ash Law, who's one of my coworkers at Fireable, he's actually my boss at Fireable. Let's face it. He can do demos that will work everything in. He will work in all your one unique things. He will work in all your backgrounds, and he is fantastic. And I openly admit that he's better than I am. Because he's a crazy person. But yes, some people can do that in a 2-hour demo. I'm not as good at it. It's something that it's not always easy to do. You know, I'm better at it in an ongoing campaign. Like in this particular case, like Jared, your beard, I would have found some way to have that as a primal event, something like that. Like for example. Maybe the fact that you were sent to the ambassador to be the ambassador to the Elf Queen for her birthday bash, maybe it's because of your beard. Maybe Dwarven society puts an emphasis on beard length as a sign of like wisdom or knowledge or something like that. And thus, when you get to the Elven court, there are other beards with other dwarves there with shorter beards, and they conspire against you to make you look bad and to embarrass you or something like that. And so that's how I might bring in one unique thing into in a longer term event, for example. I might bring in Bill's, I might bring yours in just to have a situation where you're in an urban environment and you really need to find somebody right away, but your one unique thing says you are horrible in this environment. And I might say you might roll to succeed to follow somebody. I might go, let's do that one over again. You're really bad at this. So this is the flip side of your getting an extra roll in the forest. You might get an extra roll and take the worst of them in the urban environment. It might not necessarily come up in terms of story, but it could. But it could be one of those things where, all right, Bill, you are necessary to do this particular adventure. The Elf Queen needs you to do this because you are the best. And that could be why where your one unique thing comes in. Steven's one unique thing. It's hard to say, but maybe for some other quest you need to go to the Cloud City he's talking about.
Right.
Maybe present that crystal shield as a proof of his citizenship.
Right, and if this were a real campaign, I would probably know something about the background. I probably would have picked something that tied into the existing background rather than just making this thing up out of whole cloth.
Yeah, and I would have worked with you too, because I would have gone, well, if everybody who leaves here has a crystal shield, that's not unique. Let's find a way to make it unique. Maybe this is the shield of the royal house of the city, or whatever it is. Something to make it more unique is what I would probably do. But I mean, again, since it's a one-shot, I didn't push that quite as hard because. Right.
I thought that. Well, for me, the unique thing, the crystal shield was not the unique thing. The unique thing was that I'm the only half-breed who's born in the Crystal City, the only one who's left the city.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it would be one of those things that. Right. I mean, regardless of what it actually is, if I didn't feel as the GM it was unique enough, or it was inhibiting other people's, including my own creativity, I would have gone, well, let's see what we could do here to get basically what you want, and get a little bit more of what I want or need, or what the other player happens to want.
Right.
I think it's an important part of 13th Age in general is the give and take. About how things work, not just at character creation, but as you continue to go on further.
Right.
Like I was talking about with the backgrounds earlier, is that I may say, all right, this skill check is using wisdom or dex. Let's go with dex instead, because there was a point where you guys could have made the argument that, no, I don't think dex works here. Let's use strength instead. I think it was the climbing that Stephen was doing. I said dex, but Stephen, you could have gone, I don't think it's so much about dexterity as it is about strength. And if I agreed as the GM, I could go, I see what you're saying. Go ahead and use strength instead. But I could have also gone, it's a slippery slope. It's more about manual dexterity than it is about pure strength, and then you would have still used strength. But there's still that give and take. There's that back and forth that you're not necessarily negotiating, but you're helping, as the GM, you're helping to inform the players. And the players are in return helping to inform what their characters are and what they expect. Right. So that's one of the things that I really like about the system is that it's open-ended enough that there's a lot of flexibility in how you play your character, how the GMs approach things, and the combination thereof. So that's one of the reasons that I really like this system. Because I like that give and take. I like that. Well, I've created something as a player, and I'm giving it to the GM now, with my background or whatever.
Yeah, I like the way that you got us to sort of choose the obstacles on the way there, rather than having to come up with it all as the GM.
I really like doing that. That's another thing that's not specifically part of 13th Age, but it's part. I'm one of the writers on the Organized Play program, the Tales of the 13th Age, and it's one of the things that we do is that sometimes you want to push things onto the players. You want to give players a chance to describe things, to create, to narrate, and that's one of the reasons that was in this particular demo is you get to describe the things that you're facing. It's not just me going, okay, you're facing a ravine. What are you going to do about it? It's something you came up with, which makes you're more interested in it. because it's something that your side of the table came up with in the first place. You're like, well, all right, there's a ravine there. How are we dealing with that? The very start, where I was asking you guys, why are you together and why are you doing this? I like that sort of player-facing thing, and 13th Age lends itself very well to pushing those kinds of things onto the players and encouraging them to create and narrate and take a greater share of control about the setting, the campaign, the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
So that's what I really liked about that.
Yeah, I can see it being really good as a GM as well. You don't have to do so much of the legwork.
You don't have to do as much of the legwork, but what I really like about it is that it provides a lot more, because I can only work with what's in my head. If I can combine forces with all my players to do this stuff, it's better than what I could probably come up with on my own.
Yeah.
Like I probably wouldn't have come up with that ravine. It wasn't something that I would have thought about, and so I got a better experience because of that.
Yeah.
So it adds up. If players are really invested and really interested in that part of it, it makes the experience better for everybody, not just them and the players, but me as the GM. It makes my job easier to help come up with plot hooks and adventures, because the players just are giving them to me in the course of a narration or creation.
Yeah.
Which in turn leads, at least I would hope, to a better and more interesting adventure for them as well.
Yeah. With the sorry if I'm like taking up a lot of question time. I know we did quite well on the skill checks, but with the sort of fail forward kind of approach, how might you have approached some of the situations?
What would have happened here is that, all right, let's break it down. Let's go to each one of them. All right. So the brambles. Let's start with that. So let's say you failed on the brambles. You still, in this particular case, you would have still gotten through the brambles, but you would have had a complication come up. In this case, the one that I was going to use is that you would have disturbed a nest of sturges. In the course of getting through these brambles, you would have disturbed a nest of sturges who would come out and you're going to try to suck your blood. And you would have had to avoid that danger through another roll, or you would have taken damage from it. Let's see, what was the other one? The second one was the ravine, right?
Right.
So in that case, that would have been a mudslide. You had been on the edge and watching him go down, and all of a sudden, oh crap, the hillside came out from under you. You would still have still gotten to the ground and been able to climb back up, but you would have been hurt and had problems on the way. The last one, what was the last one? Oh, it was the
wood dragon, the lizard, yeah.
So if you'd failed that, what would have happened there? So if you'd failed to drive it away, maybe it chased after you, and it chased you right into some orc traps they'd laid for anybody that was falling behind them. That would have been another way. You still would have gotten away. You still would have continued on towards your destination. There just would have been an extra level of danger that you would have faced first. Failing forward in a lot of ways is like that. You're still going to get what you want, but there's going to be a drawback for it. It's like the 5s on the icon relationships that I described. You're still getting what you need, but something else comes up as well. So that's how I interpret it in this particular case, is that you still do what you need to do. You're just dealing with something else too. Any other comments or questions about the system or anything like that?
Thank you for running this. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I really like
stage, and I wanted to see some of it.
it. It was fun to run. I really like doing demos. I really wish I could do more of them or do another campaign, but there's only so much time in the day, you know.
Right.
But I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any other questions at any point about the system or anything about it, hit me up on Twitter or G+. I'm more than happy to to answer questions about the system or anything. Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and finish off here, and I will bid you guys a good night. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, all right, good night, everybody.
All right, good night.
Good night.
Or good day in my